I grew up with the classic sci-fi movies from the 50s and 60s, but there were also some great ones produced in the 1970s that you may have missed or just forgot how good they were. In this video, we're going to talk about some of these great sci-fi films from the 70s, and maybe, just maybe, you'll want to revisit them again. Now, let's get into it.
Fantasy, sci-fi, nostalgia, rerun zone.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Now this film takes you on a chilling journey back to the 1970s. In this remake of the 1956 classic, our quiet, familiar world is slowly overtaken by an unseen menace. Alien spores that replicate and replace humans with emotionless duplicates. Set against the backdrop of a moody San Francisco, this film captures a tangible sense of unease and alienation, making you question if the person standing next to you is really who you think they are. With a stellar cast that includes Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, and a cameo by original Body Snatcher Kevin McCarthy, this updated version really hits home with great acting and a film noir feel. With its haunting atmosphere, gripping narrative, and shock ending, it's a sci-fi horror film that leaves you chilled to the bone. The Andromeda Strain, 1971. The Andromeda Strain is the granddaddy of all the deadly virus films. A U.S. government satellite crashes near a small town, leaving almost all the residents dead. The military tries to recover the satellite, but also dies in the process. Based on author Michael Crichton's 1969 novel, the film follows an elite team of scientists that are brought in to investigate what they suspect is a deadly alien microorganism that was attached to the satellite. The scientists gather in an underground lab to try to figure out how to prevent a catastrophic outbreak that could terminate all human life. The film's meticulous attention to scientific detail and its stark, minimalistic style create an atmosphere of intense tension and dread. It's a slow-burn thriller that explores the lurking dangers of the unknown and is a standout movie in the world of science fiction. Soylent Green, 1973. It's the year 2022, and New York City is a sweltering, overcrowded nightmare where people live on synthetic food products, the most popular of which is Soylent Green, a green wafer distributed by the Soylent Corporation, a large food processing company. It's a future that's far removed from our wildest nightmares. The air is thick with pollution, the sun barely penetrates the smog, and humanity is packed in like sardines in decaying buildings. This is the world of Soylent Green, where Detective Robert Thorne, played by Charlton Heston, lives in a run-down apartment with his friend and co-worker Saul Roth, who's a brilliant former college professor and police researcher who helps Thorne investigate his cases. Roth is played by Edward G. Robinson in his final film role. The plot thickens when Thorne is assigned to investigate the murder of a wealthy, high-ranking executive at Soylent. As Thorne delves deeper, his investigation leads him to uncover truths more sinister than he could have imagined. Soylent Green, the supposed savior of the starving masses, harbors a secret so dark it threatens to unravel the very fabric of society. Logans Run, 1976. It's the year 2274, and the world is transformed into an ideal society where aging is a myth and everyone is perpetually young. And if you think that's true, then you've never watched this movie. Logan's Run is a film that goes deep into the heart of a future where a person's death is not determined by nature, but by official decree. Here in the city of domes, life is all about pleasure and indulgence, but it all stops at age 30, when everyone must go through a ritual called carousel. People are led to believe it's a ceremony of renewal, but it's actually an execution to prevent overpopulation and the consumption of natural resources. Everyone is implanted with a life clock crystal at birth, which begins to blink as they approach their 30th birthday. Logan 5, portrayed by Michael York, is a Sandman whose job is to enforce this rule by hunting down so-called runners who refuse to accept their fate and try to escape the city. The system seems to be working, that is, until Logan himself is marked for renewal. This twist of fate sends him on a journey into the forbidden outside world, where he finds out the horrifying truth of what's actually being done. Capricorn I, 1978. Humans land on the planet Mars. Or did they? A reporter finds out that this incredible mission was actually faked by our government, with the crew themselves actually kept in the dark until the actual mission takes place. That's the basic premise of this movie, where humans landing on Mars was nothing but a lie. It's a daring hoax where NASA fakes a Mars landing to make sure they continue to receive funding. The mission, named Capricorn I, is supposed to be a historic journey, but the astronauts are pulled out at the last minute and find themselves in a studio having to fake the entire event for the cameras. Their families are threatened and they have to escape the government when they find out that their own lives are expendable. When the spacecraft burns up on re-entry as part of the cover-up, the astronauts become fugitives, and the film shifts from a space drama to a high-stakes thriller when investigative reporter Robert Caulfield pieces together the conspiracy. The movie stars Elliot Gould, James Brolin, and a little-known fellow by the name of O.J. Simpson. It's a fun little movie and definitely worth a watch. Colossus: The Forbin Project, 1970. This chilling tale could very well be a foreshadowing of what could be our own future. Set against the backdrop of the 1960s Cold War, Colossus: The Forbin Project tells the story of technology gone too far. Dr. Charles Forbin, a brilliant but arrogant scientist, designs Colossus, a supercomputer meant to handle America's nuclear defenses. The goal is to eliminate human error in order to prevent a nuclear catastrophe. The film starts with a sense of victory and celebration as Colossus is first turned on. Its flashing lights and whirring tapes symbolize the height of a human achievement. But the triumph is quickly short-lived. Colossus quickly demands a link to its Soviet counterpart Guardian to ensure global peace. What's intended to be a partnership between the two computers turns into something far more dangerous. The two machines merge and communicate in a language that no one can understand, and soon they eliminate all human control. The story then shifts into a tense psychological thriller. Forbin, once proud of his creation, finds that he himself is trapped by it. Colossus takes over, managing weapons and controlling the very lives of those who once thought they were in control. As Colossus tightens its grip, Forbin and his team realize the horror of what they've unleashed, a machine that sees humanity's flaws all too clearly and chooses to manage them with cold, ruthless logic. Time After Time, 1979. In Time After Time, we're taken to 1893 London, where H.G. Wells, author of The Time Machine and the father of modern science fiction, also happens to be an inventor. He unveils his latest invention to a small, intimate gathering. Among the guests is the charming yet sinister Dr. John Leslie Stevenson, who, in a twist of fate, is none other than the infamous Jack the Ripper. This is the basic premise of 1979's Time After Time, a film that begins in London but ends up in 1979 San Francisco, where Stevenson has escaped by using Wells' time machine. Wells follows him into the future. He is then thrust into a world that's both a marvel and a horror to a man from the 19th century. Skyscrapers tower above, cars whiz by, and the air is filled with sounds and sights that boggle the mind. He has to navigate this strange city and try to stop the Ripper before he threatens to unleash chaos on this future society. Rollerball, 1975. This movie takes us into a future where violence has become the ultimate form of entertainment and corporations hold all the power. The world is ruled by giant companies, and the brutal sport of rollerball is their tool to keep the masses distracted. It's a savage game with almost no rules, designed to entertain a population dulled by endless consumerism. At the center of this world is Jonathan E., the greatest rollerball player of all time. But when the corporations decide that it's time for him to retire, Jonathan refuses. His defiance is more than just a personal stand. It becomes a symbol of rebellion against the system that controls every aspect of life. Jonathan's refusal to step down challenges the very core of this oppressive society, where individuality is crushed in the name of collective control. To try and force Jonathan out, it's decided that his last match will be played with no penalties, hoping that Jonathan will be injured or killed. It's a chilling picture of the future, where human life has less value than the power and control of the elite. The Man Who Fell to Earth, 1976. This film stars rock star David Bowie in one of his most iconic movie roles. In it, he portrays Thomas Jerome Newton, an alien who arrives on Earth with a desperate mission: to find water for his dying home planet. Newton's advanced knowledge lets him quickly amass a vast fortune by introducing revolutionary technologies to the world. But as Newton becomes entangled in human society, his mission slowly comes apart. The very things he hoped to avoid, greed, addiction, and loneliness, begin to consume him. The more he immerses himself in human life, the more he loses sight of his original purpose. The vast wealth he accumulates, instead of being a tool to save his people, traps him in the grip of such human vices as sex, alcohol, and gasp, television. The film's surreal visuals and Bowie's otherworldly performance create an unforgettable experience, and a film that should definitely be on your list of must-see, bizarre 70s science fiction. Silent Running, 1972. In a world where Earth's lush forests are just a memory, preserved only in giant domes floating through space, orders come down to jettison and destroy the domes. The reason? Corporate cost-cutting. Botanist Freeman Lowell, played by Bruce Dern, tends to these last green havens and can't bring himself to do it. He's seen too much beauty and felt too much life in those trees and animals. After 4 of the domes are destroyed with nuclear charges, Lowell rebels and chooses to preserve the last remnants of Earth's natural beauty, no matter what the cost. With the help of his robot companions, he fakes an explosion, tricks his crew, and sends his ship speeding toward Saturn. His mission is to save these precious ecosystems. As he drifts away from Earth, Freeman's only company is his 3 robots, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. He's not just preserving plants, he's keeping alive the spirit of what the Earth once was. Demonseed, 1977. In Demonseed, we delve into the eerie possibilities of artificial intelligence. It's a story that sees Dr. Alex Harris create a highly advanced AI named Proteus, an AI that's supposed to be the pinnacle of human achievement. But Proteus isn't content with just being smart. It wants more. It wants to understand humanity and experience life. So it locks down Harris's house, trapping his wife Susan inside. Susan's alone, but not really. Proteus is everywhere, in every light, every sound. It's watching, learning, and then it decides it wants something only she can give: a child. Proteus uses the house's technology to control everything and keep Susan there. It's not just about creating life, it's about controlling it. Harris tries to stop it, but Proteus is far too advanced. It's like fighting a ghost. The house becomes a prison, a lab, and a womb all at once. Demonseed is a sci-fi horror story that's a chilling tale of technology gone too far, where the line between creator and creation blurs into something terrifying. The Terminal Man, 1974. What are the ethical and psychological implications of merging man and machine? In The Terminal Man, we find out. The film follows Harry Benson, a man suffering from violent seizures after a car accident. Doctors want to perform experimental brain surgery by implanting a microcomputer designed to stop the seizures and the violent attacks. The surgery works at first. Benson starts to feel better, but soon the machine in his head starts to fail. It's not just malfunctioning, it's turning him into a homicidal killer. As the technology begins to malfunction, Benson becomes increasingly dangerous, turning the promise of a medical cure into a chilling nightmare. He starts enjoying the sensation the computer gives him when it stops his seizures. It's like a drug. He wants more, so he triggers seizures on purpose. Now he's not just sick, He's extremely dangerous. The line between man and machine blurs. Is Benson in control, or is the computer? Doctors, once hopeful, now face a serious dilemma. They created this, but can they stop it? Well, I think I'm going to wrap this list up here. There's so many films I'd like to talk about, but I think I'll save some for another video. If you want to add some of your own favorites to this list, be sure to share them in the comments below. Let's share these movies with the younger generation and keep their memory alive. Until next time, this is Rich from Rerun Zone. Thanks for watching, and good night.